are heightening, are getting to the level where it actually might be. It's not yet, right? To me, it's not yet. I usually like to wait for some very credible sources like Formula One, like Ferrari. I think if they have a change to something as big as Bonotto leaving, that definitely they'll put it out. Now, of course, drink my water, be healthy. There are people that have inside knowledge, and Wolfpack gets that sometimes, but there are some people that are really close to the situation. And I know we're hearing rumors that Bonotto might be go. He might be gone. For a moment, I call him Red Bull's like employee of the season, but I don't think it's certain yet. And plus, we can't count Ferrari out on doing like foolish things. They might not let Bonotto go. They might decide that Bonotto needs to stay, and that indeed he might not be the biggest issue. Although I don't know if I agree with that. I think seeing Bonotto like roll out before the race even ended, like just left the pit wall, and went on to do his own thing. I think that was like not the best thing for him to do. But another thing we're gonna get into is we're gonna get into these bands. Okay, we're gonna get into the rear wing band, which is Aston Martin. We're gonna get into the front wing situation, which is Mercedes, and then we're gonna get into the beam wing situation, which typically can be Red Bull, because they were the first team, I believe, to start kind of manipulating the rear beam wings, probably in such a way that it wasn't intended, but something that went like without punishment. And I thought it was cool too. I said this from the beginning. I told you all from the beginning when these things came out that rear wing by Aston Martin was going to be banned. So many people focus on thinking that all of a sudden like Red Bull gets banned more than Mercedes. It's not true. If you go back and look at some of the innovations that have been banned, all the things that Mercedes have come up with usually end up getting banned at some point because they try to suppress the performance. What I believe, because they work in a gray area just like other teams, but they're not the only team to get bans. You know what I'm saying? Other teams get banned. Aston Martin is now with a ban, and I told you that rear wing was going to get banned. And people were steadily worried about, oh, well, Mercedes got to use this through the season. That's what they do. Something is developed within the gray area, which means they did not develop technicals or regulations to really hone in and say that's not legal. So they allow the team to use that through the rest of the season. Like I told you all, the wing was going to reappear. It did reappear, not as much as I thought it had, but it reappeared. And now it's going to be banned going into 2023. Mercedes front wing development. Now they got rid of the outwash furniture. They got rid of that. They didn't really bring it out. They didn't use it in the GP. They announced it and pretty much put it on display in COTA. Then in Mexico, they thought it was going to be used, but then you saw the prints where it completely disappeared. What's up, Blue Diva? What's up, Galactus? For adults, only glad to see you back. But it reappeared, and then they never used it, right? Okay, well, we're going to go into some of that because that technically was banned back, the outwash furniture. But a lot of this has to do with the way they want to keep the new car, the new regulations going. They don't want it disturbed. So-called there's been an increase of overtakes, and they're trying to attribute that to the development of the car. Maybe it could be. It's not really, it's development of the car, but it's not per se solely because the car was developed correctly as the philosophy was thought to be, right? It could be there were more overtakes because teams hadn't got a firm grasp on the design. Therefore, the performance and everything they had wasn't there. So that allowed, like I told you, back feeder teams to intermingle with mid-range teams, especially during qualifying, but in a race, things kind of start shifting back to the way they used to be. And so therefore you have more overtaking. So is that truly just attributed to the design and the philosophy of the car actually doing what they said it was going to do? Or is that really more attributed to the fact that not a firm grasp, as they're growing and progressing and developing their cars, things are happening, so therefore we have overtaken? I'm not sure. I'm not willing to say, yeah, the philosophy of the car really held together yet. Not sure about that. But majority of these bans are based on the fact that the car development is not wanting, they don't want the car's development to be disturbed. And that's where a lot of this comes in, especially with Mercedes, okay? So we're going to get into some technicals, right? We're going to get into some things as far as why, how do you know certain things have changed? And we're going to look at that. This video is not going to be a full video on diving deep into the regulations and extracting that. We can do that on another video because I've done that before, and it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more in-depth research so that I can find a way to translate it over to many of us so it's understood, but I also could try to bring somebody in. So I'm telling you, will these changes affect how these teams perform? Aston Martin, I don't think so. They only used that rear wing maybe 3 times last season. Maybe it might only been twice. The one time they announced it, and then the time they brought it back. Maybe I don't really see that rear wing being a big cause to Aston Martin jumping or falling further back in the grid. Now, Mercedes, the front wing development, I don't fully see that being so critical, but more critical than the Aston Martin, okay? Because we already know Mercedes was one of, if not the most team that had the most porpoising issues, which is airflow and aero, right? Attributes to that deeply. And they had developments throughout the course of the season, which helped them alleviate that problem. So I think that could be a little bit more impactful with them, but they go into this offseason. They have plenty of time to try to figure out ways around that, other areas they can probably extract that performance. But I think the FIA have done a pretty good job of trying to confine that development, whereas other jobs to confine other developments, not so much. And I'm going to show you what I mean when I say that. Okay, so let's get into the first one. Now, we got Aston Martin right here, and it's the rear wing. Now, if you notice, this is one of the first variations of that rear wing, the rear wing in which it was intended to be displayed or intended to be used. Notice they wanted to get away from the rear wing end plates, okay? Now, rear wing end plates help focus in that air, help bring in more drag, help bring in more downforce. As you see on this rear wing, there is no defined end plate. It is kind of fluid in its design and its nature, all one piece aside from your DRS system, okay? All pretty much one piece. That's the way they really wanted it to be. And so you also saw this on the model car when we first saw the new variation of the car coming into the season. We saw that rear wing was pretty fluid, right? Okay, so now I'm going to show you a picture of what Aston Martin ended up developing, which came into question. This is the rear wing that came into question as far as the development. Now, if you look at this, I'll bring you a closer picture. Look at the difference between that wing and what was intended to be used. They have clearly designed in or found a way to add an end plate in, but they added the design of a functional end plate section, I could say, because it's still all one section. Usually you got your wing, then an end plate that connects to that, and it's clearly two different sections joined together. They found a way to make all of this still one piece, but yet they formed a surface that would act as an end plate right there. And then not only that, look at the blunt end of that circle, which would add to drag, downforce, okay? These are the small things, but the big things that occur in Formula One where teams are trying to extract performance, all right? These are the things that they're doing. This wing, I told you when it showed up, would be banned. Now, we could take another glimpse at this, right? Here it is again. Now, here's the inside view of that rear wing, okay? Inside view of that rear wing where you can see not only that, but they got a nice curve out, and that will also funnel and flow air in back to that part where the DRS flap will lift up and that flows in. All these things, FIA did not intend for it to happen, but the FIA also, in this situation, I believe, because I'm going to show you something, I think they were clear about what they wanted and what they didn't want. Unless things go forward and I see more redactions or more revisions, revised literature, I'm going to have to say that it's a possibility that Aston Martin's wing should have been banned in the season and not allowed to continue or be used again, because I'm going to show you where I don't think they left a lot of gray area, because there aren't a lot of changes as far as a response to this wing, unless going forward they are going to make additional changes that they haven't made yet. and then we will go over those. So let's show you some of those. Let's show you that real quick. So if we close this off, here's the rear wing, okay? Here's the rear wing section for the regulations as they were to be attended. Now, if the FIA make any changes to a previous revision, this is 2023, right? It's 2023. They're going to have strikeout marks, which are lines that are going to go through certain sentences or paragraph, and then they're going to have pink literature or pink font that shows you what has replaced the previous revision. This is the current revision. If you notice right here, first thing, rear wing profiles, you don't see anything just yet. Okay, now before we get into the rear wing profiles, let's get into this so we can understand some of the things that we're about to see, okay? I'm going to go over some terminology so that when you see it, you'll kind of have an idea of what it's meant to be, okay? So this is what it's meant to be so you can understand this. If you see RV, that is reference volume, okay? Now, you see they got floor body, floor fence. Now, what you will see is like rear wing might be RW, front wing will be FW, and so on, okay? So you'll see this terminology, and I'll explain it. But if you see RV, that's reference volume. If you see RS, that's reference surface. This is what that terminology means, and it's important for me to tell you this so when I read off acronyms or abbreviations, you'll know, okay, reference volume, reference surface. Something else that we need to look at. Let's check out this before we get into axes, okay? Now, the y-axis runs through also the center point of the car, but from left to right are starboard and port, okay? That's going to be from side pod to side pod, all right? The x-axis is going to run from the rear of the car to the nose of the car, rear wing to front nose. That's the x-axis. So if you see X, you'll know that that's the axis that runs from the rear wing to the front wing. If you see Y, you know that that's the axis that runs from left side pod to right side pod or vice versa. Now, the z-axis is in regards to up and down, okay? That's going to be through the center of the car also, up and down. So if you wanted to say Z, any surface or volume that went from the floor to the engine cover up could be a Z axis change, all right? Now, as far as it comes to these axes being related to motion, you will see yaw is the X axis from center, from top to bottom, okay? So you will see yaw is the Z axis, my apologies. Z axis from top to bottom is yaw. So that's going to be a direction of left and right on a center line like so, okay? Left and right. You'll see the x-axis is related to the roll motion, which is going to be a motion that you get if you turn the car, the body will roll this way or that way. That's going to be on the x-axis as far as motion. On the y-axis as far as motion is going to be pitch. So let's say you stepped on the brakes, the nose dumps, and then you step on accelerator, it lifts. That's pitch, okay? So if you see these things in the terminology, then you'll understand. I want you to kind of understand what they're talking about because they're not going to go and spell this out every time in these technical regulations. They're going to use the abbreviations. They're going to use the shorthand. They're going to use the acronyms. So I want you to be clear about what those acronyms are, what those motions are, and in reference to the axes, what those things mean when I read out some of these regulations. Now, remember what I told you. We're not going to dive too deep. All right, we're not going to dive too deep, but we are going to get into some of this. So in a general sense, and all this is going to do is I'm trying to show you what all the FIA have went through and changed thus far, and why I think maybe the Aston Martin wing should have been banned in the season and not allowed to use going forward versus the Mercedes wing being allowed to let go until the end of the season and then bringing it up to be banned going into 2023. And then how nothing came of the beam wing usage of Red Bull, like I said, and I agree with as far as the literature printout goes. Okay, so now let's get into these regulations. Now, as you see right here, we have the regulations for the rear wing. You do not see any redaction. You do not see any changes in revision. When you see the revisions, I'm going to show you what that's supposed to look like, okay? So right here, as it goes for these sections, 3.10, 3.10.2 on the pylons, you don't see anything really. Now, here's where you go and you start seeing some changes. Now, remember what I told you. You'll see the strike-throughs. You'll see the pink that's going to change and tell you that this is what's new in comparison to what was before. Now, if you notice right here, all that's really been changed is nothing as far as the body of content, as far as what they're saying as to the development. It's strictly just subsections, right? They just modified the subsections. Now, remember, we're sticking on Aston Martin right now. We're going to get to Mercedes. It's strictly on the subsection, okay? So on the subsection of this, you don't see any real changes aside. You see subsection change, but nothing in the body. So like the rear wing beam must be arranged. Now that goes into the beam wing section. Like I told you, right? This would be like Red Bull. This is what I'm showing you. They didn't change anything in regards really the beam wing, just the subsection as far as it titled, because what they did was they had ABC in the subsection of body work must be declared. And then they additionally wanted to start a new subsection, but you can't start a new subsection without having a main section. So now the subsections and furthermore just go inside in chronological order with the initial subsections of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's all they did here. So you don't see any changes as to the regards of the way the beam wing was being used at Red Bull. And I will show you the beam wing usage, right? Let me cut this off real quick, and then we're going to get back in to the updates on that. So if you go to the beam wing, what I mean about Red Bull and the beam wing, now we'll go back into this. Red Bull found a way. Now, initially, the beam wing was kind of like one surface that fed into the other, but Red Bull found an opportunity where they could, even though it was two sections acting as one the way it was set up, they took those sections and arranged them differently to be two different surfaces to utilize the beam wing. Now, if you notice right here, there's the beam wing, but you see right here, they removed it, all right? But you see this beam wing, they got two elements there now, very close together, but still two different elements. And even more so, in another picture, you'll see that this hump won't be here. They'll have another beam wing setup where you can clearly identify two different surfaces and not working as one surface as maybe intended, right? So that section is something where I thought, yeah, it probably won't be banned, and I don't think it probably should be banned. I think it was a clever way. It was a good usage. The FIA initiated it as two different surfaces that were on that vehicle, and all Red Bull did was take those surfaces and put them in different little areas of that section to utilize different surfaces and airflow to either get more downforce and drag or not. Okay, so that shows you right there. Let me go to the chat, make sure I'm not missing nothing. That shows you right there that they did not really pay. They didn't think anything was clearly wrong with that. So they left everything as far as the beam wing regulations the same aside from the subsections. That's all they changed was subsections. Now let's go a little bit further into the rear wing setup for Aston Martin. Now here you'll see a rear wing end plate, which is what we were talking about, right? Them utilizing and kind of forming an end plate on that rear wing. Yet there's nothing here changed, redacted, striked out, or verbiage changed to say what you did was not what we intended and was really wrong. And I think this is because they already writ out, and it was written that shit's illegal. Like, it's illegal, and we don't need to change much in our regulations to show that it's illegal because we read it so you wouldn't do that. We didn't know that you could do that. We didn't foresee anybody making a unison form shape, but still making it in the way that it would be an end plate. But it was clearly said that end plate is not acceptable in that manner to act as an individual source. So you don't see a lot of changing in these regulations. And if that is the case, that you're not seeing a lot of changes, then that would further support the fact that the design and the development, the very clever innovation of Aston Martin was indeed foul and wrong according to how they already written the regulations. Now here we go down here, the rear wing tips, okay? Rear wing tips. We see a small change right here where it says, when measured the X direction, remember the X axis, each individual section must be larger than 100 millimeters and no more than 40 millimeters. Now you got a strike through. Now, and if you go into 2022 regs that haven't been revised, you won't see that strike through. And it says that this may overlap in any other section in the same plane. What they did is they took that out, and it says the complete intersection may contain more than 2 points with the same X coordinate, okay? That is what they changed in there. Not a lot changed. Not a lot changed, right? Not a lot changed. So if you don't have a lot to change, if you look at the rear wing separators, nothing changed there except for a measurement where they're talking about the fixed affiliate radius of no more than 3 millimeters. Now they went to 4 millimeters, or that's 2. And then other than that, rear wing end plate. Here we go. Right here, rear wing end plate, exactly what we're talking about. Exactly what we were talking about in regards to Aston Martin making this rear wing, right? Yet you don't see any redaction. You don't see any changes, any strike throughs, any pink words letting you know we've exchanged these words for new verbiage. All you see now, notice you see RS, reference surface, RW, rear wing, RWEP, rear wing end plate. Well, this is what we're talking about when it comes to Aston Martin, right? If something that they did was a lot of gray area that was left in the regs and that you didn't intend for that to happen, we should see a lot of pink in here, but we don't. And we don't because I feel like we don't because they already had clearly outlined what was accepted, what wasn't, and they felt that the verbiage in this regulation clearly states that Aston Martin should not have developed that wing. All right. Although they utilized it in making it a one surface fluid, like we got continuity right here, right? Look at 3.10.8. Once the rear wing end plate is fully defined, we'll go right down here so you can see. Once the rear wing end plate is fully defined, the external surfaces at the boundaries between adjacent sections of the rear wing end plate and rear wing profile must maintain both continuity and tangency in any X, Y, or Z plane all the way around. Nothing broke up. It must flow fluently. They didn't change that. All right? They did not change that. But I believe Aston Martin developing and say, hey, well, it's fluent. It's continuity. It doesn't really change. It's not detached. It's legal, right? No. And if they didn't feel like that was worth going back in here and redacting a lot, then clearly they felt that the way we writ out those regulations, you clearly knew, Aston Martin, that we did not want any shape, form of a traditional end plate on that rear wing. You know this. So why wasn't it banned immediately in the season? They allowed them to continuously go ahead and use it. And some people feel like the development of Mercedes front wing should have been banned right off the back, ban them. Well, it's clearly obvious here that Aston Martin's rear wing was clearly not within the regulations, but yet they were allowed to go ahead and use that rear wing to the end of the season. Just saying, okay? It's all fair in the game of war, and so don't try to, say one and not the other, okay? Now, let's get into this. Let's get into the next thing. We're going to go ahead and look. If you notice right here, this is just the development in different rear wings types. Now, all these variations are legal. You don't see a clear defined end plate on any of these rear wings, right? None. It's all fluid. If you wanted to say the down level could be, it's not an end plate that protrudes above the Z axis of the rear wing, which is up and lower, correct? Remember, X runs from rear to front. Z runs through the center of the car from pot. Now, they said all these, it should not extend. So if you notice the top one in Barcelona, now, if you notice that thick section right there towards the corner, they implemented that more in their modified rear wing that was definitely illegal right there where that green arrow is pointing. But there is clearly something that can be identified as an end plate now constructed within the rear wing, which technically is not what the FIA wanted anymore for the development going forward in 2022, okay? So now let's go ahead and go into Mercedes, all right? Let's go ahead and go into the Mercedes design because this is something where I'm going to show you there's a lot of pink. And if there's a lot of pink, then that means one of two things or both things. One, we didn't clearly develop the regulations that says what Mercedes did is illegal. Two, we want to make sure that nobody, including especially Mercedes, never do this again. Now, notice how much pink we saw in regards to the rear beam wing and the rear wing end plate, which is clearly something right here that was done. We didn't hardly see anything. You didn't hardly see anything. Let me show you the difference and another regulations in regards to, matter of fact, let's go ahead and just go into that picture in regards to Mercedes. We'll get through the Red Bull, saw that. In regards to Mercedes front wing, here's one of the pictures when they put the outwash furniture on there, okay? Now let's go ahead and go to this regulation so you can see what that looks like. Let's check it out real quick, shall we? So here we go. Front wing, 3.9 is the section for the front wing. Let me make sure I check the chat. Nothing going on. All right, so what's going on? What's up, Chris? What's up, Blue Diva? What's going on, Sean? Everybody. So let's go ahead and go into this real quick. All right, now as you see, front wing starting off, nothing yet. Nothing yet. The above pink that you see is the tailpipe. Now let's go ahead and go down here. Already starting, remember, reference surface, front wing profiles. Now already starting, once the front wing profiles are fully defined, they go into gurney. They added plurals, gurneys. And then this, they added these gurneys to also say any gurney in this section has to adhere to this. Any gurney in this section, all right? Extremity of the innermost gurney, extremity of the outer, all gurney covered, right? Now look, already we're seeing, as far as front wing development, we're already seeing a bit more pink redactions and revisions that we saw with the rear wing situation and the rear beam wing situation with Red Bull and Aston Martin. We're already seeing this, and we haven't even got deep into the front wing regulations yet, right? We're already seeing this. Now let's go down a little further. Check this out. All right, nothing here. Now we get into the front wing tip. Now we're going to get into here to the Echo subsection. Bam. Already shitload of pink. Shitload of pink, right? So they've had to, and I'm going to tell you, this I think is added in because you don't see the strike through. So that means this entire section was added into the regulations. I'm pretty sure if you go back to 2022, I think this subsection was shorter or didn't even exist as far as I'm concerned. It was far more condensed, okay? So if we get into here, let me check the chat, make sure nobody said nothing. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, cool. So what's going on, Patrick? So as we get into here, look at this. Any section described in Charlie and Delta, forwardmost point, rearwardmost point, measured in x-axes, must each situated between a pair of planes from a set defined as follows, all the way from another subsection of Echo, I, 2, 3, and 4. Already a boatload of pink here. Look at it. This is all front wing development. Now, this would go into Mercedes while their front wing is being banned. Now, remember what I said. And before in the rear wing and the rear beam wing, we didn't see a lot of pink. So that meant that the regulation was already written as it needs to stand, which means the development of that should be clearly broken of the rules. But here, as far as in regards to the front wing development, when we're talking about Mercedes, now we're seeing a bunch of pink, which means they've had to go back and revise a lot of things that maybe they didn't put in there, maybe they didn't make clear to make it more clear and honed in, okay? Which means, yes, that means Mercedes should have been allowed to utilize their front wing as they were. Aston Martin was allowed to use their rear wing as they were. The beam wing situation with Red Bull utilizing the two different surfaces and arranging them as they should, as they were, and I agree with that. Now let's get into this. Here we go. A boatload more pink coming in. Now we got strike throughs saying that we're going to strike that through and rewrite it. As you saw, after the front wing assembly complete, they struck that out and they wanted to say Airstream as a result of assembly with the front wing profiles and front wing end plates. Here we go. Here we go. This is all going to be in regards to why Mercedes front wing is being banned. So, big shout out to Galacticus. A lot of changes from a wing that was never used. Right, and it's not even so much that, Galacticus. This is going to change the way Mercedes implemented their front wing end plate. All right, this is changing that, right? And also making sure that that furniture doesn't come out, because right now in this section, we're in just the front wing tip. We're not even in the front wing end plate yet. We're just in the front wing tips right now. Here we go, a bunch more strike through. Look at that, bunch more strike through. All this strike through, totally removed. Width is not required. Here goes 2, which surfaces, all that strike through. Z equals that. Look at this. All these strike throughs in the front wing section. Let's go down here and see if we can find Here we go. Furthermore, more revisions, more added in verbiage in the wing auxiliary components, revisions to basically dimensions, the way they want these to read out 60 to 65, 2 to 4. Here we go to front wing body group. Nothing really in here is the front wing body group. And then rear wing, beam wing, as we said, they changed those, okay? Now, you saw that's a boatload difference when it comes to the front wing section being addressed in this entire situation in regards to Mercedes. All right, you did not see this much pink or revision needed in the development of the rear wing that Aston used or the beam wings. So clearly, the FIA realized after the development that Mercedes put, it wasn't illegal because they really didn't write it in to really stand it being illegal. All right, except for that outwash furniture. Now, why is this being done? Now, you can see, look at that end plate. See how that it's clearly like 50% not attached to the front wing lead trailing edge or side edge as it would be up front right here. And you got these deep grooves or gills in there, right? Here's another side view of that. Now, I'm going to leave this picture up because in regards to why is the question, why are they so hard on this? Well, it's because Mercedes were trying to recover or recoup some of the outwashing, right? They were already dealing with porpoising, already dealing with airflow problems. This development was supposed to help take air and push it out from the car, all right? Get rid of it. But what that does is it contradicts the philosophy of the new car. The new car is supposed to leave cleaner air behind, so therefore the chase car has cleaner air and less dirty air and will be able to follow closer, more competitively, and maybe even overtake. Already you got DRS, right? The rear car already has DRS. You do not. The rear car has slipstream. You do not unless you're in a DRS train. So there's already an advantage to the rear car that the front leading car doesn't have the opportunity to defend against. And this is where I will get into another video talking about some things that maybe Formula One need to look at implementing to make it a little bit more fair and competitive in this nature, okay? So the reason why, as I was getting to, is because the development that Mercedes has made contradicts the philosophy of the new car as far as disturbing and making more dirty air for the trailing car versus cleaner air so that they can follow closely. So they went in and overwritten a lot of things to make sure that Mercedes doesn't develop a front wing end plate, a front wing situation like this again. That is what they've done, all right? And they've had to do it. Now, let's get to this. This is just a little fun that we can do because I think we're going to see drastic changes in these cars going forward. Drastic changes. What's going on, Mary Beanie? Patrick, Blue Diva, what's up, everybody? We're going to see drastic changes here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Look at these two different variations of the MCL 36 in the same year, 2022. Just the top one is the oldest one, I think, is when they came out in Bahrain. The bottom one, I believe, is Singapore, probably Abu Dhabi, because they had the views. They had this design first, and or they also had this new livery design in the Abu Dhabi, which was the whole views and was really cool. But I pretty much think it's the same thing right here. So we'll go to this. But just look at all the development that went into these cars and how they changed just in one season. Look at the top engine cover and that gurney towards the rear near the rear wing. Completely different than that gurney before. Even look at the rear wing in its profile, the way it comes down on the Z-axis, down to the bottom near the tire, more curved into the rear. Look at the side stay that's ended up developing and showing us. Look at the side pod, how you see more separation or at least more body development from the coke and the engine cover to the side pod itself. You clearly see it developing in that drop in that swoop towards the back. Look at the floor. how the floor design changed. Look up front by the front wheel, how you see that gap. You can clearly see through the car to the other side of the road on that front floor where the floor is and the plank is. But as you come down to the more revised version of the latest car, you don't have that gap in there. That gap is gone. Look at the halo. Look at the halo section where the driver cockpit is. Look at the front leading edge of the side pod where the air is going to enter into. There is so much development here in this picture. It's crazy. That's in one season. That's in one season of development. So you can only imagine the development that we're going to see going into the 2023 season. I say this because we could possibly see cars change so drastically in philosophy that it's going to be crazy, including the Mercedes. This development is crazy, all right? There's going to be a lot of changes. Remember, McLaren is one of the teams that they're probably first or second in line for who bought the most upgrades, right? I mean, one time, except from, I think it was Williams, they bought like a butt ton one time, but there were plenty of times where McLaren was the team that bought the most upgrades at GPs. There's a lot of things going on there. It's a lot of things going on there. So there's a lot. Yes, there's a complete difference in that, right? But still, we saw a little bit of progress from it. Also keeping in mind that McLaren is going to be, hey, J-Rob, what's up, family? What's going on, J-Rob? Hey, some of these family members are about to hit. Matter of fact, check this out. We got to announce a new Tier 2 VIP member. Now, let me show you what comes in the Tier 2 platform, all right? I'm going to do this because, hey, before we get too deep into the next photo, Tier 2 VIP member, all right? Congratulations. In the Tier 2 package, this is the last Purple Collection Tier 2 package, all right? Everything else will be broken up. Is the drawstring bag includes the Purple Wolfpack Collection bag, the Purple Performance Talk Collection shirt, the Purple Performance Talk Collection hat, a Pirelli keychain, 2 driver cars, the Lewis Hamilton flag banner, the suspended gold coin, which I'm already having their coin custom made with their name on it for Tier 2, and they'll get that to put it on display in your office or in your home or your studio, whatever you got. Also, they're going to get the Lewis Hamilton helmet and all of that. And the new Tier 2 VIP member is Maria Duncan. Congratulations, Maria. You have reached Tier 2 status. Been a supporter of the channel heavy. I really appreciate you. Maria Duncan, go ahead and congratulate her. Maria Duncan, you need to reach out to me. Maria Duncan is the new Tier 2 VIP member. Congratulations, VIP. I'm trying to tell you, she popping tall. Y'all seen her in here when she pull up at those finale laps. Don't act like you don't. Go ahead and congratulate her because I'm going to ask people to congratulate you when you get your Tier 1 or your Tier 2. Extract says Mercedes engineers are too clever for the FIA. Whatever Mercedes develops within the regs, the FIA keep moving the goalposts. Facts, Extracts. That's a big fact. Big fact. And once again, shout out to Maria Duncan. Big fact on that. So let's get back to this. All right, so as it goes, we see the car right there of the McLaren and what it and how it changed throughout the season. And like I was saying, those were a lot of changes if you compare the two different cars to the latest version in Abu Dhabi and even Singapore, which is where they first came out with that livery, which was really cool, by the way. You can just see how that car changed and developed over the course of the season. In all of those sections, the engine cover, the cake, the coke, the side pods, the floor, the front wing, the rear wing, the diffuser. Look how you can clearly see the diffuser towards the back, but then you look at the latest version, that diffuser has been either slanted in so it doesn't protrude as much, or it's been totally eliminated and concave. It's not totally eliminated. You're always going to have diffuser, but that side has definitely been changed. But you can see a lot of changes in car development over the course of just a season. All right. So not only that, but I also wonder what they're going to do in regards to, there's another picture you can see back there, the louvers, all of that side pod, how it goes in, the surface of that, the cake, the coke, the engine cover, the gurneys. All right. But let's talk about this situation, because this was a situation that took place where It definitely. I want to say that it may have happened in Brazil. I think this happened in Brazil, where basically the entire wheel basically failed and separated from itself. At first, they thought it was the tire, but actually, it was the rim separated completely. Now we already know. Excuse me. They had a lot of situations with brake overheating there, brakes on fire, brakes smoking. But in this situation, I believe this is AlphaTauri. It completely dislodged and came apart. So evidently, there are some things to be looked in, either the brake cooling elements of the brake construction itself, or the wheel construction itself holding up in case the wheel brake duct either ruptures, which we saw plenty of times. We saw it just combust on a couple of cars. The Williams, we saw that happen at AlphaTauri too, and here we are again with AlphaTauri again with a similar situation, but more catastrophic damage as far as it goes to the wheels separating. Patrick Edwards is similar to the Red Bull on the second development. Okay, Patrick peeping out some things. Patrick's one of our knowledgeable people. Patrick knowing what's going on. So yes, that is true. Yes, development there with the Red Bull. People starting to, our team starting to kind of readapt their designs, definitely for what may be working. Did happen. You are correct about that, Patrick. So this is another situation that we're trying to see what was going to go on, what they're going to attend to. I'm going to be looking for Pirelli, the FIA, to announce some type of developmental change here. If they found that it was the development of what is issued as a standard versus it was the development and change of what was initiated by the team. If it's by the team, it's going to be like, here, you got to work that out. Like, it's not on our development and what the confines or how you can develop. It's how you develop to change and try to extract performance for your team. So we're going to leave you to do that change. I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to put a poll in the chat. Don't dance on it. Just vote on it. Holy shit. So, yeah, I want to ask you all that question in the chat. All right. So answer that. Let me know what you got going on, what you think about that. Do you think that's something that's going to change? That's what I would like to know. Do you think that's something that's going to change? Let me see. All right, poll in the chat. Don't dance on it. Just vote on it. Poll in the chat. Don't dance on it. Just vote on it. Let me know if you think the W14 is going to look similar to the W13. Yes or no? What do you think about that? Do you feel like that's something that's going to happen? All right. You missed some super chat. I got you. I missed it because the damn YouTube failed on me. I got you. I'm going up right now. It failed on me and I had to end up scrolling up. I got you. I got Extracts, Engineer Clever, Mary Beanie. I believe the Red Bull will swap Checo with Nick before next season. And will Piastri be all hype? McLaren will be interesting. I hope W14 will be a rocket. Oh, I don't think Red Bull will swap Checo with Nick before next season, or unless Checo leaves. If Checo leaves, then yes. If he doesn't, I don't know. But Mary, I think you're on to something right there. Also, McLaren, Piastri be all hype. McLaren will be interesting. I think Piastri might actually surprise us. I think he might surprise us. I do. I kind of think he might surprise us. I'm going to wait and see, but I think we might see a surprise. And not only that, we might see a internal driver battle with McLaren when they got to handle Piastri and Lando. I don't know if those two are going to get along quite as some people are thinking they will. Let me see right here. Will be interesting. W14 will be a rocket. I think the W14 will be a rocket. I do think that. We're going to see, but I'm hoping on it anyway to see more competitive. Patrick Edwards, similar to Red Bull. I got that one on second development. Who else had a super chat? Nobody else. Got Extracts. I got it. Yep, I got everybody. All right, so yeah. So we're going to see what happens with that as far as the development of this car. But yeah, pretty much I just wanted to go ahead and get into those regs, get into some of the things that changed, why they banned the Aston Martin, why they banned the Mercedes design, why they didn't touch the beam wing. And I think you can clearly see due to what the FIA did as far as redeveloping their regulations or revising their regulations, it clearly shows that there was more gray area and things not attended to as far as when it came to the front wing development by Mercedes, which is why they should have been allowed to use it for the rest of the year, because they did not outline it to say that, yo, what you're doing is clearly illegal, versus what Aston Martin did. I don't think they changed a lot because I think they were pretty clear on what we don't want to see. But they were still allowed to use it for the rest of the season. And hey, they only used it a couple times. So, big deal. I think the beam wing situation is a good situation. All teams, not just Red Bull, utilize it going forward as far as those two surfaces and acting as two different surfaces. And sometimes it is a single surface to facilitate whatever type of performance that they wanted. So, yeah, I think, that's a cool situation. It's a cool thing. I don't see a problem with it. I think going forward, we're going to see more changes. FLQ, what's up? Have they banned anything from Red Bull? No, I have not seen any news, any ban from Red Bull. I even went into cover as far as the rear beam wing regulations. Nothing really changed there aside for some subsections to go in chronological order with the initial subsection or so. Nothing changed there. And FLQ, I sent that track, and you should have the part in the little token of appreciation for you getting the movie Color Purple pun that I had in the one of the lives. So yeah, nothing changed for Red Bull. Nothing changed. They still got the minimized wind tunnel time that they initially weren't given. They wanted to give them 25%. Red Bull didn't like it, so they came back, gave them 10%. They only fined them $7 million for going through the cost cap, $1.8-something million. Nothing changed for Red Bull going forward as of right now. No further investigation, or no investigation at all that I know of, with the supposed ploy and plot of Perez crashing on purpose in Monaco, as Max said he was mad about. Listen, if that really did happen, if Perez really did crash on purpose, they got telemetry. They have enough things they can look into to see if that was true. If it's true, then what the hell are they doing? There should be another Crashgate investigation. Am I wrong? Regardless of who they want to try to point it at, it's got to be at the Red Bull team. And there are a lot of other things you got to look into, but we haven't seen anything on that. So I believe Red Bull put that out in the air, trying to dirty up Perez to make Max look better about the shameful shit he did. In Mexico, he looked bad. In Brazil, he looked bad for what he did. And they tried to do something, to put something out there in the air to say, oh, this is why Max did what he did. It's really not as bad as you all are making it. No, it's as bad as it looked, and it is bad. It was horrible teamwork. It was not a good teammate. It was horrible character, just trash integrity, what Max did. And inevitably, it ended up costing Perez and Red Bull to have a 1 and 2 as a team. Had Max did what he needed to do as a teammate, which Perez has done so many times for Max in the sprint and in the race and in Abu Dhabi, as he said he was going to get full support, Perez would be 1 and 2, because Max would have let him through on that first corner and nobody was going to catch the RB18 out in clean air. Perez would have had second, and Red Bull would have had a 1 and 2 driver championship. But Max didn't want to do that. It's all about him and all the bullshit and being a spoiled brat. FLQ, more Merc sandbagging. We're going to see if that's the case. Elect Cornbread, what's up, fam? Miss y'all, and Flex Up is fire. Appreciate you, Cornbread. Big thanks for that. Miss you too, man. I'm going to be here all season. Galacticus, Red Bull, what's up, Sylvia Wick? Red Bull Racing blocks the cameras during grid walks to hide. Yeah, ooh, Galacticus on something when you go to those cameras. Hamilton's camera be sometime off a lot too. But, it's a lot of things going on with those top teams, but there are times when all cameras are active and theirs is not. So we be wondering, like, what's really going on. But, yeah, we'll see what's up with that. But they play their little games. I don't know if that's quite illegal. But they do the shenanigans, so that is true. But, yeah, this is what's up. So we're going to see what happens going forward. Big shout-out for the Flex Up single. We're going to keep positive energy moving forward. Like, I done already responded. I done already comment and message somebody else. Like, they know what they do. They know how they slime. They know how they fugazi. They know how they hate. They know all the shit they put out. But what we're going to do going forward is we're going to put positive energy into the platform, into the community, and we're just going to ignore the haters. That's what we're going to do. And big shout out to Maria. Big shout out for people making their 3-month mark as members. Remember, when the 6-month mark comes, people getting t-shirts. People getting Wolves Den t-shirts. No bullshit. That's going to be sent out. And it's quite a few people that's going to hit. It's 2 people that's going to hit it ASAP. And when they hit it, they going out. So I will be having that design done. I will get those t-shirts done for you all and send them out and ship them to you all. Nobody has not got none that have shipped. Ernie Simmons, I still need to hear from Ernie Simmons. Ernie Simmons needs to get back with me so I can get you straight. All right. So other than that, listen, y'all take it easy. I told y'all we're going to be live. We're going over these regs, going over what we're in ban. Big shout out to everybody. Let me see what we got. J-Rob, shout out to you. I see you reached your new family member, Mark, too. Everybody is up in here. Mary Beanie got her 3 months badge on. J-Rob got this 5. Look, God damn, J-Rob been here for 5 months. He about to hit that next level. J-Rob about to hit the next level. I'm telling y'all right now. J-Rob about to hit the next level. Wait till the icon change. Matter of fact, Sylvia Wick. Where's Sylvia Wick? Sylvia Wick, you about to change too, hell. Sylvia Wick bag icon about to change too. Watch. They about to hit another level. I'm trying to tell you. So we're going to see what's up. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming. By the way, we had that E-race was like, that was a bunch of changing, a bunch of action, a bunch of misfortunes, a bunch of spin-outs. We're going to have the next one is going to be set up for next week. I'm going to post that as I always do. The time is probably going to be the same. Drivers seem to be able to make that time. We're going to be looking for Denzel to participate. I reached out to him. He didn't come in. We're probably going to have some more Delta Zero production race teams. Don't be surprised if we have a driver show up that's in some elite stuff. We're going to look for that. We're going to see what's going on. So big shout out to you all. We're going to build that. Trust me, Discord is going to be coming. Going to be developing that. I'm waiting for the new station, waiting for construction to finish, waiting to get all this stuff because it's going to take me like a week to get everything changed over, get things downloaded, get the new station uploaded and all the updates and get that online and bring that station over here, get everything from this station copied over to that station. So it's quite a process. And when the process gets ready to take place in full-fledged, I'm going to let you know so that you're not like, damn, where's Wolfpack? And I'm still going to try to come live. You're still going to see posts. We're going to still do all that. And then once that thing is complete, we taking off again. And then we're going to be into a new season that's going to go crazy. But we're going to be here all off season. Wolves Den is going to be this Wednesday. This Wednesday, Wolves Den is going to be there. We will have our guest. Camera F1 will be with us in the Wolves Den. I've messaged Maria telling her to contact you. Bet. Thank you, Mary Beanie. So, yes, we're going to be in the Wolves Den this Wednesday, okay? So be there for that. I will post the time and all that in the members chat. You will see that. Be ready for that. VIP members only access. All right, so listen, see y'all then. Peace and love. Enjoy your day. I'm going to get with you. Thank you, Mary Beanie. Big shout out to you. Super chats, big shout out to y'all. New members and members that are continuously growing with us at the family. Big shout out to you too. Peace and love.